For more than 200 years, countless treasure hunters have vanished, fortunes have been swallowed, and a yawning chasm has kept its secret. Beneath Oak Island's cursed soil lies a mystery that has turned ambition into legend, and every echo of the deep pit whispers a warning. The question remains, what darkness waits in the shadow of that ancient earth? James Harrison stood at the edge of the wind-swept marshes that lapped the southern shore of Nova Scotia, his breath fogging in the early October chill. The legend of the Money Pit had followed him across the Atlantic, whispered in taverns of Halifax, and printed in yellowed broadsheets that promised untold riches to any brave enough to chase the phantom treasure of Oak Island. He tightened the straps of his leather satchel, the weight of his compass and a battered journal, a reminder that this was more than a hunt. It was a promise to his late brother, a promise to bring home a legacy that had been stolen by time. Mr. Harrison, a gruff voice called from behind. Thomas O'Brien, a former British soldier turned surveyor, stepped into view, his red coat dusted with the salt of the sea. The locals say the ground there is cursed. Men who dig have never returned. You sure you want to tempt fate? James smiled, the grin edged with determination. Curses are just stories, Thomas. What's a story without a little danger? Besides, I've got a guide who knows the island's secrets. From the shadow of the pine line emerged a wiry figure, her hair tied in a knot, eyes sharp as the gulls circling above. Maggie McLeod, she introduced herself, her voice low and steady. My family has watched over Oak Island for generations. If you're going to dig, you'll need more than a map. You'll need to know the rhythm of the earth. The three exchanged glances, the unspoken agreement hanging between them like the low fog that curled over the water. The hook idea pulsed in the air. For over 2 centuries, countless diggers had vanished, fortunes had been lost, and a deep pit guarded its secret. What lay beneath Oak Island's cursed ground? They set up a modest camp near the site known as the Money Pit, a hollow that seemed to swallow light as soon as they approached. A rusted iron bucket lay half-buried, its edges corroded by years of water. James knelt, brushed away the mud, and uncovered a faded inscription. SP 1799. Do not dig deeper. The words sent a shiver down his spine, but also ignited a spark of curiosity. Looks like someone tried before us, Thomas muttered, eyes scanning the surrounding cliffs. And they left a warning. Maggie traced the letters with a calloused fingertip. My great-grandfather told me his uncle disappeared here after finding a stone slab with a cross etched on it. He said the ground was alive. That night, the fire crackled, casting long shadows across their faces. James opened his journal, reading aloud the accounts of earlier expeditions. Elliot's 1802 dig, the tragic collapse that sent men screaming into darkness. the 1866 attempt by the Shorrocks brothers, and the infamous curse that seemed to tighten its grip with each failure. 3 days later, after relentless surveying and careful removal of the top layers of earth, a wooden platform emerged, its timbers ancient and waterlogged. The trio lowered a sturdy rope, securing it to a sturdy oak. Thomas, his military training evident, guided the descent with measured breaths. "Steady," he instructed, his voice echoing off the stone walls. "Remember, we only go as deep as the platform allows." James descended, his lantern casting a trembling glow. The air grew colder, the smell of damp earth thickening. At the bottom, they found a stone stairway, half collapsed, leading further down into darkness. Their lanterns flickered as a low, rhythmic thumping resonated from below, like a heartbeat. "Do you hear that?" Maggie whispered, clutching the strap of her satchel. "The island, it's breathing." Thomas tightened his grip on his lantern. "Probably water moving through the tunnels." They followed the stairway, each step echoing with a sense of foreboding. The walls were lined with wooden planks, some still bearing the initials of forgotten diggers. As they reached the 3rd level, a sudden collapse sent a cascade of stones clattering behind them, sealing the exit above. Panic surged, but James steadied his breath. "We can't go back up. We have to find another way out." Maggie's eyes darted to a narrow fissure in the wall, a thin sliver of light seeping through. "There's a tunnel here, if we can widen it." They worked feverishly, using improvised tools, iron rods, a pickaxe salvaged from the platform, and even Maggie's trusty hunting knife. Sweat mixed with the cold, and the sound of their labor reverberated, a frantic drumbeat against the ancient stone. 2 days later, the tunnel widened enough for them to crawl through. The passage opened into a cavern illuminated by phosphorescent moss, casting an eerie blue glow. At its center stood a massive stone chest, its lid adorned with a carved emblem, a lion entwined with a serpent, half eaten by a dragon. Thomas approached, his hand hovering over the lock. This is it, the treasure. James' heart hammered. Or the curse. Maggie stepped forward, eyes flickering with a mix of fear and awe. "My family always said the chest would be opened only by those who understand the island's true purpose." They examined the chest, noting a series of intricate mechanisms, gears, pulleys, and a series of tiny pressure plates etched into the stone floor. As James pressed a hidden lever, the ground trembled, and a deep rumble filled the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a low, guttural chant seemed to rise from the walls themselves. "Run!" Thomas shouted, but James was already pulling at the lock. The chest lid creaked open, revealing a gleaming hoard. Gold doubloons, jeweled necklaces, and a rolled parchment tied with a crimson ribbon. James unrolled the parchment, his eyes widening. The ink was faded, but legible. To the heirs of the crown, this is the bounty of the New World, taken from the Spanish galleons that once roamed these waters. Guard it well, for it bears the curse of the fallen. Only those who honor the dead may claim it without doom. A sudden, deafening crack split the cavern. The ceiling began to collapse, stone raining down in a torrent. The trio scrambled, hauling the chest with them, their muscles straining against the weight of centuries. In the chaos, a hidden compartment in the chest burst open, spilling a small, ornate box. Maggie snatched it, her fingers trembling. Inside lay a delicate silver key, its bow shaped like a serpent devouring its own tail. "Look at this," she breathed. "It's not a key. It's a—" Thomas glanced at James, his face paling. "The legend of the Serpent's Eye, the artifact that controls the island's heart." "Supposedly, whoever holds it can command the waters, the tides, even the curse itself." James stared at the key, then at the crumbling cavern. "We have to decide. Take the treasure and die, or use this to stop whatever is killing us." Maggie's eyes hardened. "My great-grandfather told me the island protects its secret. If we take it, the curse will claim us. But if we use the key, maybe we can end this." The ground shuddered again, a massive stone slab sliding down, sealing the entrance they had come through. The only way out was the Serpent Key's promise. 3 hours later, exhausted and bruised, the trio stood before a massive stone door etched with the same lion-dragon emblem. James inserted the silver key into a recessed slot. The metal sang as ancient mechanisms engaged, gears turning with a resonant click. The door groaned open, revealing a narrow stairway that led upward, bathed in the faint glow of sunrise filtering through a fissure. As they emerged onto the island's surface, the sky blazed orange, and the distant cries of gulls echoed across the water. They stood at the edge of the cliff, the chest of gold at their feet, the silver key warm in Maggie's palm. The island seemed to sigh, a gentle wind rustling the pine needles, as if acknowledging their triumph. But then a shadow moved behind them, a figure cloaked in a dark coat, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. He stepped forward, the crunch of gravel announcing his presence. "Gentleman and lady," the stranger said, voice smooth and unsettling, "I see you've uncovered the treasure of Oak Island. I am Charles Whitmore, an agent of the British Crown's Secret Service." James stared, the realization dawning. You were the one who sent the warning to my brother years ago." "You knew about the curse," Whitmore chuckled, a low, bitter sound. "Indeed, the Crown has long coveted this bounty. The curse, as you call it, is merely a safeguard, an elaborate system of traps designed to keep unworthy hands away. My orders were to retrieve the treasure, ensure it never falls into private hands, and to eliminate any witnesses. Maggie's hand tightened around the Serpent key. You're a traitor. You used the legend to hide your breed. Whitmore's eyes flickered with a hint of something else. Fear, perhaps. You think you can stop me? The key you hold is not a blessing. It's a binding. The moment you remove it from the island, the curse will awaken, and the ground will swallow you all. Thomas stepped forward, his military bearing returning. Then we destroy it. Burn it. Toss it into the sea. Let the island keep its secret. Whitmore raised a hand, and a sudden burst of wind surged through the clearing, lifting the chest and the key into the air. The ground trembled, fissures opening at the base of the cliff, spitting out water and mud like a living beast. James lunged, grabbing the chest, while Maggie seized the key. In the frantic scramble, Whitmore slipped, his coat catching on a jagged rock, and he tumbled into the newly formed chasm, his scream swallowed by the roar of the earth. The trio, with the chest clutched tight, raced toward the edge. The island seemed to resist, the ground shifting beneath their boots. With a final, desperate push, they hurled the chest over the precipice. Gold and jewels glittered as they fell, disappearing into the abyss, swallowed by the very curse that had protected them. Maggie, tears streaming, flung the Serpent key into the roaring sea. The silver gleamed one last time before disappearing beneath the waves, its power taken back into the deep. They collapsed on the shore, breathless, the sun now high in the sky. The island settled, the fissures sealing as if nothing had happened. The wind whispered through the pines, a soft sigh that seemed to carry a note of relief. 3 weeks later, the story of the Oak Island dig spread across the colonies, embellished by tavern telltales and newspaper headlines. The money pit was declared a protected site, closed to further excavation. James, Thomas, and Maggie returned to their lives, forever marked by the night they faced the curse and chose to sacrifice the treasure rather than let greed claim it. James wrote a final entry in his journal, the ink steady. We came seeking gold, but found something far greater, a choice. The island's secret remains hidden, its curse unbroken, yet we walk away alive. Perhaps that is the true treasure, the knowledge that some mysteries are meant to stay buried. Thomas returned to his regiment, his reputation bolstered by the bravery he displayed. He never spoke of the pit again, yet his eyes would linger on the horizon whenever the sea called. Maggie stayed on Oak Island, tending to the land her ancestors had guarded. She kept a small wooden box, empty but for a single feather, a reminder of the night the Serpent key slipped away, and of the promise she made to protect the island's secret for generations yet unborn. The wind continued to howl over the marshes, the money pit yawning silent and dark beneath the earth, waiting, perhaps, for the next hopeful soul daring enough to dig, yet wise enough to heed the curse.